Now, this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. And I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I went from king to baby care. In West USA, born and raised, airport lounge is where I spent the most of my days, chilling out, maxing, booking flights on my phone, sleeping in random cities while reigning on my throne. Then a cute little baby who was up to no good, he started making noises in my neighborhood. One little jaundice scare and the docs got mad. They said, "You're moving to the NICU with your mom and your dad."
Welcome back to the Unplanned Parent. I'm Dr. Angel, here with my sleep-deprived, diaper-adjacent, against all odds, completely besotted with his new baby, co-host and brother, Raman. And today we have a very special guest, Ashley, who is going to tell us what it feels like to be a new mom and how the platonic co-parenting journey is going in its initial 10, 12 days now.
Yeah, what are we on now, Ashley?
All right. It's his 2-week birthday, 14 days.
Oh, yeah. 14
Ashley's
days.
pretty on point with celebrating every 7-day birthday, 14-day birthday. Oh my God, it's his half birthday. So I'm glad one of us is on top of that. But hey, we got to keep the jokes to a minimum, just because I've had this history of cracking jokes post baby, and Ashley pees her pants. So
It's one of the unexpected truths of motherhood.
It's so much so that when my kids, they were worried the baby was going to pee on them. And I was like, I think you need to be more worried about Ashley auntie peeing on you. Do you want to tell that story?
Stories?
Oh yeah, there was a couple of things. We're kind of jumping ahead, but that's my fault. But yeah, we were FaceTiming with all of Angel's 3 lovely kids, and I don't remember what exactly I said, but I'm sure it was something funny because came out of me. And then Ashley goes, "Oh my God, you guys stop making me laugh. Stop making me laugh." And the kids are all looking at her on FaceTime. And they're like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "I peed my pants." And she stands up, and I think we all expected like a tiny like blotch or like a dribble. And she was just like soaked. It was like, how much urine is in you? and so all the kids are just cracking up. She gets up, she runs to the bathroom, and it was like, all right, well, that was, and I didn't learn my lesson. Later, we were at a doctor appointment. I think it was like the next day, and we went from one appointment to the other. And do you remember what I said, Ashley? But whatever I said.
You were telling me a story in the elevator, and it's a story I've heard a million times. So I don't know why I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, and she kept going, "Stop telling the story. Stop telling the story." And I'm like,
"Stop.
And he's like, "I can't stop." And then she's like, "No." And then she looks down, and I look down, and she's covered in urine again. And it's like, dude, we have a baby to deal with that's peeing his pants, and now we have a mom to deal with who's peeing her pants.
But these are things people don't tell you, that after you have a baby, sometimes like peeing and pooping, it's not normal. It doesn't work out the way it used to.
I'm not judging, and I'm just like, okay.
No, he's been very accepting. He hasn't made me feel bad at all. So. But yeah, the elevator doors opened. There was a guy standing there, and I'm just looking at him with wet pants. And the guy's looking at us like, "Are you going to get out of the elevator?"
And we were supposed to go into another appointment, and Ashley's like, "I can't go into the appointment looking like this." She's like, "Give me your car keys. I'm going to go sit in your car." I'm like, "You're not going to go sit in my car like that." Yeah, I was like, "Go outside in the sun and dry off."
Raman's worried about his upholstery.
I am. No one wants urine all over their car. Anyways, and then I walk into the doctor office with like a tiny little infant, and everyone's like looking at me, and I'm like, I don't want them to think that I'm doing this on my own, and I don't want anyone to feel bad for me. So I was just like, I walk in, I go, "Mom's downstairs. She peed her pants. Just letting everyone know we're all good. Like, I got this." And everyone just starts cracking up, and yeah, so let's try to keep the jokes to a minimum. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So to be honest, then I started wearing a diaper, and I'm proud to say it.
There's more than one person wearing a diaper in your house.
Yeah, the Amazon order. We have it on. I think you get a discount when you have it like delivered every 3 days or something. What do they call that? Like recurring orders or whatever?
Yeah. Well, we will have to come back and discuss pelvic floor physical therapy at some point.
And we can talk about Angel. This happened to my sister too when she was. We'll get into that.
We will come back and talk about. I'm totally happy to talk about that also. When I peed my pants when I was pregnant, but first, so. What I was saying was, at some point, we will come back and have to do an episode on pelvic floor physical therapy because, Ashley, you're not the only postpartum mom who's having trouble keeping things together down there. And in a lot of countries, it's routine to do pelvic floor physical therapy. Maybe not a lot of countries, but in some countries, it's routine to do pelvic floor physical therapy after birth, and it's becoming more and more common in the U.S. So I think, after a few weeks of recovery, you may want to talk to your doctor about getting a prescription.
I have a referral already. So yes, I'm actually going to be making the appointment this week. So yes.
Perfect. So Raman, you can go back to cracking jokes soon enough. But let's talk about this baby. And I want to know, what did you feel? I mean, do you guys want to tell us a little bit about the delivery, or do you want, I want to know what you felt when the baby came out. I want to know how you felt the first time each of you held the baby, and what surprised you. What did you feel that you were expecting to feel, and what did you feel that you weren't expecting to feel? And was there anything any emotion that you were expecting to happen that didn't happen?
So I'll start off if that's okay, Ashley. The whole morning was a bit surreal. I went to go pick her up. So I have a place now in San Diego, everyone. I'm living here. I'm a few miles away from Ashley. And I picked her up the morning of her induction. We went on a nice long walk along the beach and just kind of were like, holy moly, this is happening. Very soon, our lives are not going to be like this anymore. We went to a burrito shop and got a couple of burritos. And, Ashley told the guy, hey, I'm having a baby today. And of course, I was like, she tells this to everybody every day. That's how we get free breakfast. And so we got our meal, and then we headed to the hospital. And Ashley, you want to take it away from there? It was kind of like you just checked in, and it was just like, okay.
Yeah, we checked in, and it was a very slow process. And, just like in my head, I wasn't the hugest fan of getting induced. But listening to my medical doctors and people around me, I was 39 weeks plus 4 days. And they didn't want me to go past 40 weeks due to my age and due to IVF, multiple factors. So, in my part of me didn't want to get induced, but I was following the advice of everybody around me. And so we went in at 11 a.m. and it was a slow kind of casual day. They did all these, work on me and all these blood work. And
yeah, so Ashley, we got into the hospital room. She's lying down. I bust out my laptop, of course, and I just start chugging away at getting work done. And she's just kind of laying on her side. And I think that lasted for, 12 hours, a long time. Until, a nurse came in and she was like, oh, Ashley's still not, she's not dilated yet. We still got a long way to go. And then I started noticing that in between me typing, Ashley would moan and be in pain more and more frequently. And I was like, this is getting intense. So there was no one in the room at the time. So I was like, we should call someone. I called the nurse and I'm like, I think someone should come. Nurse comes. They're like, holy moly, baby has dropped. We're ready to go. Within 10 seconds, there was 15 people in the room. There's lights shining into her body and doctors with spectacles on, staring in. And it was oh my gosh, here we go.
Went from 0 to 100 like that.
But what's crazy too is you didn't have an epidural. So you were not, which was not necessarily your plan. But so you kind of went from being somewhat comfortable to really, really uncomfortable very quickly.
Yeah. I was, they did a cervix check on me. They said, you're completely closed. We'll do another cervix check at 9. And I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden it just started getting more and more. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to get an epidural if my cervix is closed because that's just way too early. And yeah, next thing you know, I was at a 10. So it was.
And then they're like, well, it's too late. The
They
baby's
said basically
coming.
you've gone through the hardest part, so there's really no reason for an epidural now. Let's go. I was like, all right.
And then one of the nurses was like, I can see the top of his head. And I was like, I started like sweating at that point. And she was like, I can see that he has hair. And I was like, what color's the hair? And she's like, jet black. And I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. I was like, he's got jet black hair. The clinic got it right. I'll take it. I'll take it. I was like, was it dreaded? She started crowning, and then everything kind of slowed down again for like a couple hours. And then it was like everyone left the room and we're like, wait, what happened? We thought you were about to give birth. And then all of a sudden everyone was gone. And it was like, false alarm. And then, within, I think, another hour or two, it was full throttle. Ashley was pushing. It looked like a scene out of the movies. I was like trying to take pictures. And then Ashley's doula came in. And I was like, so how was the drive? How was the traffic?
If he said one more word to her, I was going to turn around and like smack him, because I was just like, stop this small chatter next to me. Like, oh, how long was your drive?
Yeah.
But luckily it stopped.
I was trying to be helpful, and everyone, there's like a team of people being like, push, you're doing great, push, you're doing great. And I was like, okay, what else can I say? And then I said, you wanted this. You asked for this. This is what you wanted. And then I was like, wait, that's probably not a good thing to say. And I was like, let me take a step back and like rethink about how I'm going to motivate her. It was,
Luckily, I don't remember him saying that, because yeah.
And then you asked if you could go get a Diet Coke at some point, I heard too.
Yeah, I ran out of I went and got a Coke Zero. I was like, do I got 5 minutes? I need a Coke Zero. And they were like, I think Ashley gave me like a look of like, what?
Are you really doing this? Yes.
Yeah, are you really doing it?
Because Ashley has heard me complain to this day about how Tim stopped in the middle of my pushing and screaming and feeling like my eyeballs were going to pop out of my head. And Tim's like, I think I'm going to go get a Diet Coke right now. Is that cool? And I was like, you need adrenaline? You need caffeine right now? Like, this is not enough for you?
I think it's more about like just needing to step away for a second and be like, holy crap, I need to like collect my thoughts. She's in good hands. And I need to take a deep breath and like do something that's like normal. Like go to a vending machine and get a Coke Zero and be like, life is still happening. There are still vending machines and things exist outside of that room at the moment. And life is still moving along. But yeah, it was wild. And I came back in with my Coke Zero, more adrenaline, more refreshed. And everyone is just telling Ashley to push. And she did not have the epidural. She's a champion. I was texting her friends play-by-plays of what was going on. Everyone was thrilled and excited, and then
the baby came. Then the baby came, and you were not planning on cutting the cord, is my understanding, Raman. But then they handed you. Who held the baby first? What happened? And
so he popped out, and it's actually on video. A nurse videotaped it apparently with my phone. He popped out, and it was insane. And he shat on her instantly.
The skin to skin was delayed because he pooped right away.
Great. Good job.
He came out and he was crying like crazy. So I was like, okay, step 1, done. And then he pooped and I was like, step 2, this is good. And then I looked to see his face because I had these weird like thoughts and dreams beforehand that he was going to be born with no face. I don't know what kind.
Gosh.
I know. It was like really weird. Yeah. That was like my only fear. I was like, what is his face going to look like? And then I like saw he had a face. It was a little oblong and a little alien-like, but I was like, he's cute enough. This is good. So yeah, he came out, he pooped, he cried, and then he instantly latched. And Ashley was like sweating, and I remember making eye contact with her, and it was like, holy crap.
Wow. this is happening.
We can't keep saying we'll figure it out.
Yeah, you guys have a baby. All right. So what emotions, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what top 3 emotions did you feel when the baby came out and you were holding him, Ashley?
I mean, I think I kind of think you described this to me, but all the noise disappeared. Just everything. Nothing else mattered in the world besides that tiny little room that we were in. Like, there was nothing else that mattered. And it was the culmination of everything that came to that one point. And is a dream come true. That's really what it was. And everything was healthy, and I had him by my side, and Raman was an amazing support partner, starting at that moment and continues to do so to this day. So everything was amazing, incredible.
Oh, that's lovely.
And I was just glad that my Coke Zero was cold.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I mean, even like after the birth, I think one of the big things that just stands out, if anybody knows Raman, and he's 10 feet from his computer, he's always jumping on his computer, just for 10 seconds at a time, 10 minutes at a time. And I don't think he jumped on his computer for the first 3 or 4 days. Like, he had no interest. And I think that just goes to show just everything kind of dissipated around us. And we were in that little bubble for the first little bit, which was really nice.
Yeah, definitely nothing else like mattered at that moment. I was like, yeah, the outside world like did not exist.
And the nurses, because it was in our chart that we were friends and not in a romantic relationship, and we did have some nurses, come up to us and say to me, like, I think it's really cool what you're doing. Like, it's really inspirational. Like, Raman, you guys make a great team. Like, Raman, I think you're amazing doing this. And I think one of the nurses was like, so Raman, you're going to like be with her and helping her through this process, right? And he was like, oh yeah. So I think a lot of them kind of had question marks a little bit about what we were doing. But like, once they saw us as a team, they were really happy. I think they even mentioned that to my dad when they came in. They're like, they make a really good team, and, Raman's a really great dad. So it wasn't a secret in the rooms about what our relationship was and how that was going, which was awesome.
Yeah, I was like, how is that in our chart? I was like, what?
Yeah, the social history, it's really, really important. Of course, it's in the chart. But so, Raman, what were your first emotions?
I don't know if you would call it an emotion, but it was just, is the baby healthy and okay? And like, I couldn't really think of anything other than that. And so I was like trying to just look at his feet and his hands and his face and his head and just like his body in general, and be like, okay, we made this human and he is good. And Ashley did a lot of work on her body to make sure he came out as healthy as possible. So kudos to you, Ashley. So I think that was my very first thought, and the second thought is how's Ashley doing? Like, she just went through hell and back, and that room, for how beautiful and amazing it was, also looked like a Dateline scene. I mean, it was insane. Like, it was hard to like look around sometimes and be like, what is this bloody mess all over the place? So it was just, it was overwhelming. It was very, very overwhelming. I'm really happy I didn't faint and that I kept it together. And
you did cut the cord.
And I did cut the cord. Oh my God. So they hold up so I think the baby pooped, latched, cried, and then they held him up in front of me. And a nurse was like, you're going to cut it? I'm like, I'm going to cut it. Just tell me what to do. Or the doctor, actually, they gave me a knife and they're like, just cut it like a piece of meat. And I was like, what? I was like, this beautiful moment, this is how you're going to describe what I'm doing right now? It's like, yeah, kind of like a piece of meat. So I snipped it, and yeah, and then the placenta birth came. I was like, oh, she's birthing again.
Like, there's more. There's more.
Yeah. I forgot that was even a thing. But yeah, the emotions are. I don't really know if you can really describe it. It's just. I was in the birthing room with you, Angel, as you remember, and that was pretty insane. But I stood by your shoulders. With Ashley, I was like trying to catch glimpses of what was going on, and it not to take away from the moment with you, but it was special,
okay.
and
yeah,
it was amazing, and it was like, wow, I never thought I was going to be a dad. I never had the intention. I instantly was like, holy crap, how could I have ever thought that like the best case scenario is that someone else is going to be doing the heavy lifting and I can like keep living this crazy life and have a kid. I was like, I want to be around him, like now and always.
That's amazing. Like that just happens like instantaneously. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even like when he's not around for like a few minutes, it's like I'm at the gym and I'm like, is he okay? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I miss him too. So I'm sure you guys, when me and our kids and me, Tim, were like, oh, is he getting bigger? He's going to be like, he's going to be a pound heavier, half a pound heavier. Next time we see him, he's going to. And so, yeah, it's just amazing how those little babies, they're just made to make you want to hang out with them and hold them close and smell them.
Yeah. And then to think of like, not to make a beautiful story sad, but just think of like all the parents out there that don't want to be parents or don't want that. It's like weird. Like, where did the biology go wrong on that one?
Yeah. Well,
it's hard to even like imagine, but everyone's under different circumstances and everyone,
exactly. And people have competing things going on in their brains or different, there's so many different.
Yeah. And look, me and Ashley in our 40s and, pretty level-headed, and obviously made a very conscious choice to make this all happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was bigger and better and more spectacular than I could have imagined.
That's awesome. And you guys had this like group of, your community of friends who's just cheerleading you from the outside. And then you had Ashley's parents and Raman, our parents, were in the hospital just waiting to come and see the baby, meet the baby. And how was that? Was that overwhelming to have?
Well, it all happened like so fast, it seems like. And I was like trying to keep people in the loop, including you guys and your family. And I sent a group picture out right when he was born. And all of a sudden I got some text messages from other people. They're like, you just texted everyone Ashley's nipple. And I'm like, what? And now I'm like, wait, it's like a Seinfeld episode. I was like, did I just send out a nipple shot to the world? What did I just do?
Multiple, actually, but it's whatever.
And I was like, Ashley, I think I sent out a nipple shot. I'm sorry. She's like, it's okay. I don't care.
I think the baby was out for 30 seconds before he's texting everybody, inviting my parents and your parents to come to the hospital. I'm like,
Well, our parents were in the waiting room and they were like jonesing to come in, both of our parents. Yeah. And I know, Ashley, you wanted to get like just,
sewn up.
Yeah, sewn up and a little put together before they came in. So I had to keep like telling them. I think I went out there at one point and I was like, everything's good. Baby's here. He's amazing. Here's a photo. I'm going back in. I'll just sit tight and get some coffee and whatever. We'll tell you when you can come in.
Yeah. So you guys were in the hospital then for 2 nights and you go home. Everything seems, you had to have some phototherapy, some Billy lights in the hospital, but you end up going home. Ashley, I want to hear when you got home and my parents are there and they're doing like this religious welcome for you. It's called a puja, a little religious ceremony. Like, how was that? Like, Raman, how was that for you?
For me, I cried. I had the range of emotions. Luckily, none of them were really sad emotions. If you hear him crying, I don't know if you can hear him crying, but he's about to wake up. But I mean, the ceremony, when we walked into the door, I was just overcome with emotion. It was happy tears. When I walked out of the hospital and I saw one of the nurses in the delivery room and I gave her a hug, I cried happy tears. I had an oxytocin high that week and I was laughing at everything. And I was like, if this is the worst problem I have this week, that I'm over laughing at everything, then that's great. But yeah, I mean, it was a combination of everything. But I think it's amazing that you guys have your parents and have this amazing culture and traditions that Zen is going to be able to experience. Because I don't really have many of those aside from the traditionals, Christmas and those kinds of ceremonies, or celebrations. But I thought it was very special, and I'm thankful for it, for sure.
Oh, that's so great. And Raman, were you okay or were you embarrassed? Like, because I know sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, what are my parents doing? And sometimes it's just.
I think like maybe 20 years ago, I would have been like, oh God. But I think we've gotten over getting embarrassed about our mom and dad. It's kind of like now, at least at this point, we can just attribute like any strange behavior to like age or something, and just like Like,
Yeah, and I think it's so special to have those traditions. And, I was like, do you have this on video? I want to show it to him one day,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was awesome. It made it feel like, I mean, not that it didn't already feel like a very special moment, but it was like, it was cool, and I liked it. I remember when mom and dad did it for your kids. So
Yeah. Everyone that came home, there was a little special, some little diyas lit and some incense burning and some songs singing. What about your parents, Ashley? Were they surprised by it? Or were they accepting of it?
No, I
Did
think
they
they're very
have any-
accepting of it. I think they loved it, and
Okay.
and my mom had a little shirt for Zen, and she had some flowers, and so they both did their own way of welcoming us into our home, and I think that was was very special.
Yeah. So, Raman, I wanted to ask you about your worry levels, and do you feel like you're really worried, like appropriately worried? Like, are you just kind of anxious about things? Just wondering how you're feeling mentally.
so I think in general, I probably have this kind of worry about my business that's like kind of always in the back of my mind, and maybe some other random stuff here and there. And in a weird way, like having Baby Zen was like nothing else. Like, stop worrying about that. Like, I like, okay, if a bus breaks down, so be it. Someone's gonna figure it out, and it doesn't have to be me. Like I need to worry about him and make sure he's good and okay. So I actually think my worry levels have, in general, gone down having a baby, because
Wow.
it could just be kind of consolidated to what does he need, and we make that the priority, and then everything else in my life I can just put on the back burner at the moment, and maybe in general.
Yeah. Ashley alluded to this earlier, but when our first baby was born, that's what Tim said. He said, wow, like, and now it feels like the noise level on everything else has just gone down. And this is the highlight. This is the center of everything. And all other worries have gone down. And I think it's good to remember that, because as your kids get older, you tend to forget that, because there's a different level of stress with older kids. You start to feel a little bit, I think it's different because you're not just constantly taking care of this little thing that needs you 100% of the time. Now you're taking care of these little things that can kind of do a little bit of self-care if they just, got up and got their own glass of water. So there's a little, it's a good reminder to bring yourself back to that feeling of just how important your kids are, because it's still there deep down, but it's just that feeling is strongest, I think, in that newborn period and in infancy, and then it tends to dissipate a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there was a party I was to go to last Sunday, and I was like, if this time could be better spent sleeping or attending to Baby Zen, or me just like going on a walk, and whatever I could do for myself to be better for him. I was like, driving to a birthday party and socializing and draining myself and talking to the world about having a baby. Although it would be very fun, I don't think ultimately would have been the best choice for me or the kid. It was an easy decision. And, me, I like to go to parties and meet my friends and socialize and be around. Even your daughter wanted to come visit for the weekend, Chaya, and like, there's nothing more in the world than I'd ever want than to spend a whole weekend with your daughter. And I was like, this might not be the best weekend. We are trying to figure out how to sleep, and yeah, I know you want to be like an auntie and take care of them, but you're also a kid, and I'm gonna have to take care of you, and I can't take care of everything right now. Like, like if I have to, I will figure it out, but to the extent I don't have to,
Yeah.
oh, look at my little baby boy. Look at my little handsome fellow. Can you put him more in the center of the camera?
Oh, he's so cute, so precious. And yes, we were laughing. Oh my gosh. He's so alert. Look at those big eyes.
They're not green like Ashley wanted, but I'm just glad he has a face.
I mean, it's okay. They're beautiful eyes.
Yes,
It's a
I know.
beautiful face.
What color are they right now? I haven't stared at them in the light in a few hours.
They're a deep. I feel like they're a deep gray. They're not brown. I feel like they'll probably turn brown, but yeah, they're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, but a lot of babies are born with lighter colored eyes, especially if they have parent with light colored eyes. And then that eventually, most babies get to their final color closer to 9 months. Some even a little bit later. I've seen some kids' eye colors change like at age 2. So,
Well, Angel, I think this is a great time to get into your medical breakdown.
okay. Okay, so I think I think this is a great time to talk a little bit about brain changes that happen in moms and dads when a baby's born. And the most important takeaway from this is that dads have a lot of brain changes too. There are MRI studies that show that even in the non-birthing parent, in this case, it's a dad, there are changes, and there's chemical changes, and there's also physical anatomic changes in the brain. And some of those are really associated with more feelings of bonding with the child too. Even testosterone levels might go down in men who are more paternal and feel more bonded to the child. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like, it's interesting that happens, and evolutionarily, like why that happens is interesting, because there is this nice interplay between oxytocin, which is like your love chemical that Ashley mentioned earlier, and testosterone. So that was one of the main medical breakdowns I wanted to bring up. The other one was
brain fog.
Yeah.
So can I mention something about brain fog and baby brain, because I think that is a real thing. I'd actually never even heard of the term baby brain until like other friends of mine were like, "Oh, you have baby brain, man." Like I think at one point Kevin was like, "Maybe get off your computer. I think you got baby brain." But so when we left the hospital, it was like hilarious. Like, we had a team of people taking us out, and Ashley luckily was actually able to walk herself out. And I'm putting him in the base of the car seat, just latching him up with the car seat, and she walks to the shotgun seat to open the door to get in to sit down. And I was like, "Ashley, are you going to sit in the back with the baby?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah." and then she opens up the door that he's on, and she's like trying to get in. I'm like, "Ashley, try again." And then she like finally walks around to like the last remaining door.
Yeah.
I was like, "Are you going to try to drive right now?" Like, what's going on?
Well, remember, and you couldn't even order food from the restaurant, off the menu. You were like, just order for me, because I can't even read this menu right now.
It was the night after the birth, or maybe the night after, and she really wanted sushi. She hadn't eaten it for 9 months because I guess she wasn't allowed to. And I was ordering stuff, and then they were like, "You already ordered that," and I was like, well, whatever, just order it again. And they're like, "What do you mean, you want 2?" I was like, "Yeah, just put 2." And then I was like, and then I was like, "Ooh, and I would like a spicy tuna roll." And they're like, "You already ordered 2 of those." I was like, "Just add it again." I could not just keep it together like the order form. I was like, just whatever is on there, just double it, and just give us tons of soy sauce, tons of wasabi. Just give me the bag. I gotta go. Like, I don't care what's in there.
Yeah, so I think brain fog is interesting. I definitely felt like I had baby brain also. I think it's difficult to assess. So some people say like, "Oh, there's definitely evidence for brain fog." I mean, look, the gray matter area of your brain, parts of your brain shrink after in the birthing and non-birthing parent. So obviously this means your brain is getting dumber in some ways, but there's actually more of like a rewiring so that you can be more attentive to the baby's cues, that you know how to respond and plan things out better. So it's not necessarily that you're getting dumber. It's hard to measure because you're also totally sleep deprived. And there is this rewiring happening and restructuring happening in your brain. So maybe for a time period that could be contributing. I don't think people totally understand, but I think people say they feel it. But I think it's hard to measure in sleep deprived parents, like what's contributing to your inability to focus or do things normally. And that you've had this major life change, a new baby in your life, and you haven't slept a good night's sleep in days. And of course, your brain's not working totally as tip top as it would be in other situations.
I feel like that would help. It helps you when we wake up in the middle of the night and we're not groggy and we hear him cry and we just like jump up because we're ready to go. I think that probably helps that.
Ashley is a champ. She like hasn't complained or gotten tired. I mean, her one complaint in the last like 2 weeks is she had like a mental breakdown. I won't say breakdown, but she was like, "Where's my water bottle? I just want my water bottle." I was like, out of all the crazy stuff that has gone on and all the things you could have gotten pissed and complained about, I was like, it's a water bottle? It's a water bottle.
There was a symbolism of a lot of things. I was like, I just want my water bottle.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a really good medical breakdown, Angel. And you want to get into is this normal?
Yeah. So Ashley was talking about how she's laughing a ton, and that was great. Great for Ashley. I think a lot of moms find themselves crying a lot. Maybe you cried too because you're crying over your water bottle. I think people wonder, is this normal? Like, I just had a baby, and shouldn't I be happier? And I think it's hard sometimes, and you parents feel guilty and you moms feel guilty when they're not feeling as happy as they think they're supposed to feel, because you've seen in the movies and you've read books and you're supposed to feel this way. And not everyone feels totally happy after they've had a baby. Moms are overwhelmed, they're in pain, and your brain sometimes just makes you a little bit sad. And that is there's a normal sadness that usually lasts a week or two after birth, and it's often referred to as the baby blues. You might cry a little bit more easily. You might feel a little bit down. You might wonder, is this normal? Am I bonding properly with my baby? So that's very common, and that is not pathologic. It's not the same as postpartum depression, which affects 10 to 13% of women, and also somewhere between depending on the study, it affects up to 10% of dads.
So, Ashley, do I have the baby blues?
I don't think you do at all. I think you're great. You're killing it.
I think you're killing it too.
Baby blues, we don't really attribute to non-birthing parents so much, but that's interesting. But we do see postpartum depression symptoms in non-birthing parents, and I think it's really important to remember, because a lot of offices do not screen dads or other partners for postpartum symptoms. But like we've mentioned before, any big life change can trigger depression.
And it passes, right?
No, postpartum depression can last for a long time. Postpartum depression does not pass. That's actually a myth, that it might just pass on its own. For both the mom or the other partner involved, postpartum depression, if left untreated in a subgroup, there will be a large percentage of those people that have it that will still have symptoms a year, and some even 3 years later if left untreated. So postpartum depression is something you definitely want to catch. So somewhere between on the lower end in studies, 3% of dads, and on the high end, like 10% of dads. And moms, it's about 10 to 13% of people will have. So this is persistent symptoms lasting more than just 2 weeks, which baby blues will usually subside within the first 1 to 2 weeks of having a baby. Postpartum symptoms, so excessive sadness, maybe some anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, not feeling like you're enjoying your baby as much as you should. If those feelings are persisting, make sure you talk to your doctor about that. Most pediatrician offices or OB offices should be screening. I know that at our office, Reston Town Center Pediatrics, shout out to the office I worked at for years. We were screening dads and moms, and we've been doing it for many years now. Moms, we started screening probably 15, 20 years ago. So I think it's important, so that if you do need to reach out to get some therapy or start on medication, enjoy your baby more, it's really important. I probably had postpartum depression with all 3 of my kids, but only with my third did I reach out and get treatment, and it made a world of difference. And I didn't know how bothered I was with my first 3 kids until I started treatment with my third kid. And I just got to enjoy the baby in a different way, and also just enjoy my relationship with Tim and my other kids. And I I think I like to share that story when anyone asks me, and especially when my patients would ask me, because I think people think they're supposed to be strong and they can just they can handle the situation. Like, it's normal to be sad, it's normal to be so anxious, but it's not. It's normal to a certain extent to have some feelings of anxiousness or to have some feelings of sadness, but that's when you need to talk to a professional to see if your feelings are kind of normal or are they overwhelming and need to be treated so that you can enjoy your early infancy period with your baby a little bit more.
So I have a question.
Go for it, Ashley.
I'm 2 weeks postpartum, 14 days today, and I'm very cognizant of this, the postpartum depression. I definitely want to get help if that does come on to me. When would you think I would be in the clear that it's not going to affect me? Could it happen 3 months out? Is it a month out? If I haven't felt it yet, am I fine?
Yeah. So this is a great question. And most people will develop postpartum depression symptoms in the first few months, but you can develop it later. Most offices probably stop screening around 6 months. So you're not in the clear if you're not feeling it now. But, it's not something I want to add worry for. I actually just want to increase awareness for screening and make sure that pediatric offices are screening. And even though this is affecting the mom, a happy mom makes a happy baby, and babies can feel that connection. They can feel the sadness. They can feel the anxiety. We have studies where babies' brain waves and heart rate variability are changed based on parents' levels of stress and happiness. So I think we want to make sure the mom is feeling bonded to the baby, or the other parent is feeling bonded to the baby. And so I don't want people to be worried like, oh, do I have postpartum depression? It's more like, just make sure your office is doing the screening. And there are people that also have late onset postpartum depression. So it can happen even 9-12 months later, but most people are happening in the first few months.
I mean, Raman keeps on saying with every high, there's a low, and I've been on a crazy high. So I'm just hoping that there's no crazy low ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a low ahead.
Just being cognizant of it.
Yeah. I think people who've had a major depressive episode or who have a history of mental health problems, they are more likely to have postpartum depression or pregnancy-related depression. So if you know that you are at risk because you've had an episode before, you definitely want to let your healthcare team know that, I just want to keep a watch out for this, make sure I'm being screened appropriately.
All right, let's move into our stuff you did not know segment.
Okay, Ashley, I think you had a question for me.
Yeah, so back to the postpartum depression topic, that kind of aligns with this. I know there's different views out there, but some of the feedback that I've had from friends about placenta pills is that it could help with potential postpartum depression. It can help people with energy. So I wanted to get your feedback and views on taking placenta pills.
Yeah. So I tried doing that with my third. So I'm not totally, I'm going to come at this from I'm also a mom who gets information from other people and gets anecdotal information and wants to try it for myself because maybe this is a cultural practice that we just don't understand in the US. But I would have to say in general, I would probably not be able to recommend placentophagy, as it's called in medical terms, eating your own placenta. So even though people, when they process it, they're steaming it, probably, hopefully killing off any bacteria, there is a risk of bacterial transmission because you're consuming more of it. So if you had bacteria in there from your own lining, from your placenta, now you're going to have more of it. So there has been like a case of transmission back, so take that's one known case. So, but that's a risk, and just food grade, just other fears of other bacteria being passed because it's technically kind of like a meat. It is a meat, so you gotta. So that's one concern. to answer the postpartum depression concern, I think logically you can think like, okay, you're consuming something that has some hormones, your hormones are changing, maybe this will help. There's just no science to back that up. And so maybe one day we'll have studies to back it up. Right now, what we have is a study that actually shows that in the group that participated in placentophagy, they had 15 to 20% higher levels of postpartum depression than in the people who did not consume their placentas. So I think that that's what I would be concerned about, is that maybe it might actually make things worse. And one other risk that I think is a potential reason why most doctors, the American Academy of Pediatrics and American Academy of OBGYNs do not recommend placental consumption is the risk of clots, thromboembolism, because you're consuming all this estrogen, and that might increase your risk of clot. And being postpartum is already a high risk state for clots. So I out of concern for you, probably would say don't do it. But like I said, I did try it, but I stopped. Yeah.
I still remember when you had your first child, Angel, and I think I was exhausted and awake like all night long, because you and your husband were sleeping soundly, and they're like, "I'm here with the placenta," and I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "I'm like, what do you want me to do with this cooler of like, yeah, like weirdness?" And yeah, and then I remember you taking the pills and then like puking and being like, "This is not for me." And that's all I know about placenta pills. For everyone out there, don't opt for the home delivery of the fresh placenta.
Yeah. One other thing on that, though, I think people did look at, what's in the placental capsules when people encapsulate their placentas. Like what I did was, I wasn't just like chopping up my placenta and eating it. Most people, when they are eating their placenta in the US, are paying somebody to take their placenta and turn it into an encapsulated form of your placenta that you can now take. So when that happens, that actually then ends up taking away a lot of the purported nutrients that were in the placenta to begin with. And so when people studied this, they found that there were really minimal nutrients remaining. And then you're
just left with bacteria and like other gunk and
and maybe environmental toxins that accumulated in the placenta. So yeah, and there's no one regulating your encapsulation process.
Yeah.
So that's the really hard part. Like you're just trusting that someone is doing the right thing with your placenta and that you got your own placenta. Like what if you got someone else's placenta,
yeah, or you just got sugar pills. Yeah, I guess it's all a strange thing, but a lot of people love it, right? And swear by it.
Yeah. And then one other thing on stuff you didn't know, you guys had some feeding problems, and we're going to go into this in another episode about bilirubin and feeding problems in the newborn period. And a lot of people know about lactation consultants, but babies sometimes some babies need a little bit more help. And I think it's important that people know that there are also OTs, occupational therapists, that have expertise in babies' mouths, their shapes of their mouths, the preferences that they might have for nipples, bottle nipples, or even like the way a mom's nipple is shaped. And there's so many things and strategies that lactation consultants and occupational therapists can offer you to help make your breast nipple or bottle nipple be a better match for your baby's mouth and preferences based on your baby's anatomy and muscle tone. So I think it's just I know you guys want to give a shout out to your occupational therapist.
Oh yeah. Ashley can give a shout out to her. She was incredible. She, I think Baby Zen was on the road to eating and feeding well, but one nipple change I think accelerated that. And funnily enough, I was asked to join a lactation group on Facebook. What was it called? It was called like the lactation group or something like that. And I was like, how do they even know I had a baby? And I was like, and why are they asking the man to join, like, or a man to join? I was like, you know what? I'm going to join the group, see what they talk about. And I get in there and it's all these like hippie Rastafarian people and like dreadlock people. And then I looked at it closely and it was a loctation group for dreadlocks. And I was like, oh my God, that must be the baby brain. I can't read properly. And I was like, why is there, why is it called loctation? Okay. Anyways, sorry. I'm not in any lactation group. And that'd be weird if I was.
Did you maintain membership in the loctation group?
I'm trying to become president of lactation group. Not only a member, I'm also the president.
All right. Ashley, anything else you want to add?
Oh, Ashley just laughed. Did you pee your pants?
No, I mean, the lactation groups have been awesome. I think the downside of meeting with so many people is that you get so much different advice from everybody. And there was a point where Raman was like, you need to stop talking to these people because you're just getting different advice every time. But I think every single person I met with, I learned something from. I didn't maybe take all of their advice, but I at least took one thing. But yes, the occupational therapist took one look at Baby Zen and was like, you guys are using the wrong nipple. The NICU is using the wrong nipple. We'll get into that later. He did end up in the NICU for a few days. This is the nipple you need. And it was night and day. So shout out to Robin McMasters. And she's in San Diego.
Great. Awesome.
And a shout out to like Scripps and Rady's and just anything to do with those institutions. They really made us feel like we were in a like hotel and well cared for, and they never gave us any grief for how many weird questions. And I mean, how many swaddle tactics do we know? I mean, are we on the rhombus now or the octagon? I mean, it's like insane. It's like, dude, I could swaddle anything.
Yeah, well, that is so nice to hear because I'm sure they get a lot of complaints because, people aren't always in the hospital for good things happening and mistakes happen and people get frustrated and they're uncomfortable and in pain. And I just think that it's nice to get that positive feedback. So with that note, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Baby Zen, for making an appearance. And we can't wait to keep hearing more about Baby Zen's journey. And I can't wait to see him again.
Yeah. Thank you, Bash.
Yeah. Hopefully this podcast will be going to the point where he can actually like talk and give his own little blurb on what happened that day, the birthing day.
Or he'll be like, my dad won't let me eat candy. And we'll talk about nutrition and kids.
Yeah. No. Not happening.
Nobody can tell you what it's going to feel like until it happens. Raman spent a year deliberating, a pregnancy preparing, and still nothing could have prepared him for the actual moment of meeting his baby, his son. If you're in the middle of your own version of that, whether it's a new baby, a new role, or just a life that looks completely different than you planned, this episode is for you. Share it with someone else who needs it, and please rate and review wherever you listen. We'll see you next time.